Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to go camping. Training camp has been underway for quite some time throughout the National Football League. And what a better way to discuss training camp and a little preview of the NFL football season than bringing in the three-man booth to talk about anything and everything NFL football leading up to week one. It is almost here, ladies and gentlemen. But first and foremost, want to thank our sponsors of the Kirby on Sports podcast, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Barrett Pest and Termite Services, Shenandoah Music, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, and the official energy drink of the Kirby on Sports podcast, Don't Sleep Energy. It's going to be a great show here on episode 181 of the Kirby on Sports podcast, coming your way next. Man, we're not going to waste any more time here on episode 181 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Let's bring in our crew first and foremost, the Weapon, Dan Dembski. I mean, we've seen each other a lot this summer, but it's good to be back with you here on this podcast. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, man, it's been good. It's been good seeing you, and I'm doing well. Football's right around the corner, man. We've made it once again. Another long off season, but we're right there. We're on the cusp. One more, less than a month now. I'm pretty sure, right? What is it like? First week in September.
Yeah, pretty much. I will address that in just a second. But bringing in a two-time welterweight belt champion, the Weapon, Carlos Martinez.
I'm the Swiss Army knife, not the Weapon. Dude, you botched it.
Yes, I did botch it. He is the Swiss Army knife.
And it is the reigning, defending, undisputed Kirby on Sports Pick'ems champion, the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez. Look, I gotta do my own intros and everything.
Yeah, let him do his own intros. He's good. Look at that. He's prepared. He has that memorized, man.
That's what happens.
That was off the cuff.
That's what happens when you don't consistently podcast. I accidentally get the names messed up. It's
not even the names. You call me a welterweight champion?
Yeah, welterweight's pretty bad.
Bro.
What? You're not heavyweight.
Well, definitely not, but I'm not welterweight. I'm lightweight. I'm 155, bro.
Well, I don't know fighting well. I just thought welterweight was in the middle of small and big. So I just
how about next time we just say it correctly as the Pick'ems?
He's the
champion, bro.
The champ,
the Pick'ems champion.
Period.
Yes.
So
end of sentence.
And whoever wins it this year gets a new belt.
Ooh.
Like that. Oh, okay. Another belt to hang on Carlos's wall.
Well, I mean, Dan's my
if he wins.
Dan can beat me. Dan has already beaten me.
So let me address one thing. It has been a very interesting off season for us. Indeed, we kind of take time each and every off season to sort of rest, relax, the dog days of summer, as we call it. So the coverage wasn't really there, which, it's all right to take a break every now and then, but we are back in full swing. And my apologies to anybody wondering where we went. we've been around in some capacity, just not recording a podcast each and every week, because in the off season, it's sort of hard for us to find enough topics to talk about, like we don't really follow the NBA that much. I mean, the Nuggets winning their first NBA finals in who knows how long.
Impressive outing by the Nuggets. I won't lie.
Yeah.
They did good.
Agreed.
They did good.
Yeah. So the Nuggets there, it took 6 years from the time Vegas Golden Knights front office, I believe owner or general manager George McPhee said they're going to get a Stanley Cup in 6 years, and they did it on the dot.
Who stopped them? Who stopped them the first try?
Absolutely.
Who stopped them the first try?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to mention just the Stanley Cup being the fact that it brought back some memories from the first time the Caps won the Stanley Cup. It was very interesting to see, but that game 7 was just horrendous, and Florida just fell on their own sword. Yeah. So that's another thing that happened while we were in the off season. And most recently, the Team USA women's got eliminated from the World Cup.
Brutal.
Not as much coverage.
Brutal.
That.
Well, that one's hard just because they're down in New Zealand right now. So it's they're playing at like weird hours of the night, and that's just hard to cover.
Game kicked off at 5 a.m.
But hey, but another thing we haven't talked about, the man, the myth, the legend, Lionel Messi coming to Miami and lighting up the soccer world here. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 goals a game. The guy's crazy.
Yeah, Lionel Messi.
I mean, we always knew he was amazing, but
he just jumped up ticket prices there.
Oh, of course.
He's taken Inter Miami before he came to, and of course we'll eventually get into our main topic here in a little bit. But he took Inter Miami, which is the worst team in MLS right now, as it stands. He's taken them and made them into a contender on his own. Of course, he brought 2 of his friends. And Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba, but just presence of the GOAT has lifted every player on that team, and it's incredible to kind of see.
It's the Tom Brady effect. I mean, essentially, right? He comes into a situation. Although the Bucks weren't that bad before Tom Brady.
I mean, yeah, they had some pieces, but it's the same thing with Inter Miami. Inter Miami had pieces, but they didn't have the right coach. Now it feels like they do. And now, of course, you have the GOAT who, sure, he's, in his later, his late 30s, but he's fresh off winning a World Cup.
Yeah.
And he's still doing incredible things. So,
the GOAT makes all the difference. The GOAT, that's all. That's not all you need, but it certainly is a big piece. For sure.
And, we don't touch on it much, but, WWE's hot right now. It's, we just fresh off of SummerSlam, and they're telling one of the greatest stories ever told in the Bloodline storyline. And, I wish we could talk about wrestling more, but we're not really a wrestling podcast.
Sounds like we need to start a wrestling podcast there, Carlos.
We should, but we need somebody else too. It can't just be me. I tried doing the World Cup show by myself. It did not work.
It's hard to podcast by yourself. It really is.
Absolutely.
Very tough. You got to have at least one person to feed off, for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm blessed to have these 2 by my side to feed off of as well. Another thing that was not covered. Well, I should have live streamed this, but 4th of July, we went out there to Middletown, Virginia, and we had a day.
It's a good time.
It was a great time. We had a float. Shout out to the mayor of Middletown, good friend of the show, Charles Harbaugh IV, putting together a great parade each and every year for 4th of July. The Grand Marshal this year, none other than Clinton Portis. That was pretty cool. Got to see Nazi Johnson as well.
Which we wish him a speedy recovery.
Absolutely.
So sad to hear that he tore his ACL.
Prayers out to you, Nazi. It was very sad to hear his ACL injury, a local product from our area that went on to play with the Chiefs, winning a Super Bowl. He was in on a few plays, including that big punt return the Chiefs had. He was in on that play, did not make any contact, but still he was on sort of like the like the blocking trail in case anybody came that way. So prayers out to Najee Johnson, hoping for a speedy recovery for sure. But other than that, I think we sort of recapped what you all missed since we have been gone, along with a few scattered interviews here and there. But other than that, I think it's time to get into the bread and butter, as I like to call it. The NFL season is right around the corner.
When have you ever called it
since
the bread
when?
and butter?
The bread and butter?
When has this been your key phrase?
The pasta and the marinara. You know, it's just like none of
The
this.
steak and the sauce.
You've never said any of this. Like what?
Yeah,
the chicken and the rice, if you feel me.
It just came out. It just came out. I'm not sure why.
As I call it. I'm just sorry. That's just, it's just like, oh, I say this every day.
What we're trying to say is we have arrived at the main event of the evening, boys.
That's it.
Absolutely. So we'll start off by saying briefly, the Hall of Fame game, that stadium doesn't get used much, but the fourth quarter was delayed by the lights shutting off. Aaron Rodgers obviously did not play for the Jets, but he looked like a coach out there, and he was calling the plays. Looked like a pretty decent job calling the plays, but I'm not putting too much stock into the Hall of Fame game, but still, it was just good to watch little bits and pieces and just see football return. But the Hall of Fame game, it's good for the first 5-10 minutes, and then you have the TV crew talking to all the Hall of Fame inductees, and that's when the third and fourth strings come in, and the essentially players who might not be on the team come week one.
I think eventually the Hall of Fame game is going to become a two-hand touch game, sort of like we've seen the Pro Bowl evolve into. I mean, seriously, it's like I don't really think there's a point in playing it. I hate to say it, but it's like it gives, first of all, it's TV revenue, so it's never going to stop completely. It gives an opportunity for some of these legends for these teams to be interviewed. Like I think Joe Thomas was interviewed.
Golly, man! It always every time I see the guy, it's always incredible to see like his body transformation.
Yeah, right.
It's always insane to me every time he shows up somewhere.
It's unbelievable. I can't remember the other players who were interviewed, or legends, other Hall of Famers who were interviewed, but that's kind of a cool aspect of it too. It gives them a chance to do that, but I mean, it's very casual and laid back. A lot of those players who were on the field are going to be cut. I mean, that's just the reality of an NFL roster. So, I'm not saying outlaw the game or just not play it again, because again, NBC or whoever has the Hall of Fame game, I think usually it's NBC, but I guess they because they have I think it's whoever has Sunday Night Football. Usually they do the
it's always NBC
except for the year after COVID where they did two classes at once. Fox took that because I think Bradshaw and Johnson were both in that. They had their gold jackets on set.
Okay,
obviously, but
that was.
But any other time, it's NBC.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get too psyched up about it. I think I watched about 10 minutes.
I wasn't either, but still,
I honestly did not even turn the game on.
Yeah.
I didn't even watch it. I did other things that night.
It's a lot of good stuff on Netflix. I mean, what are you gonna do? You can't just let it sit there. You gotta go through some of that. But those are my thoughts about the Hall of Fame game. I think it's just an opportunity for I think the NBC people to work on their interview skills, because honestly, they interview so many people. I feel like they did a live mic with some players on the sidelines too. I think they did. I know they did Aaron Rodgers, which of course, they're going to do that. But I don't know. I think it's going to get to the point where it's like, what's the point of playing this game? But again, as long as the TV contracts are involved, the game is. It's a lock.
And I think what everybody kind of has to come to accept is, I mean, it's the Hall of Fame game is always hyped up for some reason. It's just because we're so deprived of, the national sport, which is football.
What it is. Yeah.
We're so deprived through the dog days of summer that we're like, oh my God, like it's here. Like we finally got something. It's something.
Exactly.
But, to me, it's just like, look, we're recording this on a Thursday. We're literally 4 Thursdays away from the actual kickoff to the season, where my Kansas City Chiefs are gonna take on the Detroit Lions.
It's a great game.
Not yet. But
you know where that's going.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah, no, I mean, I think most people kind of just have come to an understanding that, like, yeah, these games really don't matter, and only like the diehards, I guess, or the people who are like really invested in it are going to watch the preseason. Like, I'm not really going to watch the preseason. I don't feel like I might check out my teams, like just kind of like maybe catch the highlights, but I'm not going to make it like a scheduled event for like that. I have to be watching this game right now. So
I just watched the highlights because there's
can,
good stuff you can take out of it. And sorry to cut you off there, Dan, but
no,
there's just good stuff to take out of it, but some bad stuff because there aren't as experienced players in there getting some playing time.
I think one thing it does do, though, is it allows fans who might not be able to afford regular season tickets, which we all know how crazy expensive they are.
They definitely can be.
Yeah, it gives them a chance to get that stadium experience, to see their favorite team in action. So I think that is a good thing that it does. So.
Yeah, especially for like, like say like the Kansas City Chiefs, who like their ticket prices right now for the regular season game are insane. They're over, for a nosebleed seat, it's like almost $300.
Yep.
And, especially right now, people are kind of penny pinching. So like, I mean, a great example is like, Tony Romo, for instance, like his only NFL games that he ever went to as a kid were Packer preseason games because if I remember correctly, his parents just couldn't afford to take him to an actual regular season game. So it's an opportunity. Yeah. Like the preseason is definitely an opportunity to go, see your team play. And then also it's an opportunity for guys, that are, maybe like, on the lower end of the roster to win themselves a spot by performing well. And, it can also start a trajectory to a great, career.
There's more of an evaluation period there for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Those bubble guys, it gives them a chance to prove that they belong on the roster. So, yeah, I'm not saying the preseason is bad. I think it has a lot of great benefits.
I'm just saying, like, in terms of entertainment-wise, like watching-wise,
it's not.
there's really no reason to watch per se. We just got to understand these are more like scrimmages. These aren't legit games. Like, that's what they are.
Televised scrimmages.
So, yeah.
So, with that, I sort of want to go one by one. There's not really a set structure in terms.
We're going to go one by two because we have two to talk for me.
Yeah, one by one by two. Carlos, you have two. I think we should start with you, obviously.
No. We're starting with you because you got to talk about your experience at training camp.
You're that guy. You are that guy.
You were on the news, bro.
Yeah, I was actually.
You were?
Yeah.
Send me the clip. You're supposed to be Mr.
It was on his Facebook.
Yeah, I posted on Facebook, bud.
You post so much stuff. How am I supposed to keep track?
Yeah, he was on the news.
I expect a DM if you're gonna make it in the media.
He was on for like maybe like 30 seconds, but then like another clip plays, and you just see him walking in the background with his Kirby walk.
Yeah, that's true. I saw that. So the only camera shot I saw, I was on 13 News out of Norfolk, which is interesting because they had 13 News, an ABC affiliate, if I remember correctly, Wavy out of Hampton Roads, in another station out of Norfolk. So they have 3 stations coming up for training camp, which is huge too. A lot of connections. But let's start from the beginning, and I want to thank Carlos for giving me the floor to talk about this first. Because last year, I think it was kind of botched how they did training camp.
It was the Snyders, bro. What do you expect?
Hey, that name is banned on this podcast.
It is not banned. We will keep bringing them up to remind us of the bad times and look forward to the good times because they are out of here. And as we say in Spanish, fuera, fuera.
So it was botched last year because there was a lottery system.
It was everything he did. But go ahead. Sorry.
There was a lottery system in place last year that fans would enter in for a chance to get picked to go to training camp.
Mm.
And there was just a grassy area. You could bring your lawn chairs and stuff, but that was it. This year, new ownership, obviously. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't been paying attention to the news, Josh Harris is the new owner of the Washington Commanders. So I was excited to see when they announced training camp, you could get free tickets via SeatGeek. It literally was as simple as clicking which day you want to go.
Yep.
Clicking the ticket. It's like buying a ticket, but it just goes straight to your Apple Wallet because you don't have to pay anything.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, let's see what this is about. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to day 1 and day 2, see what that's like. So, and I did not go Saturday because that was sold out, capped at about 10,000 fans in Ashburn. So
wow.
We'll start from the beginning. I get an email, obviously. They're like, okay, there's parking at Dulles Town Center. I'm like, okay, parking at Dulles Town Center. And I Google mapped it. It's like a 9-minute drive or 6-minute drive from
like
there.
A 20-minute walk.
Commanders Park. Fans did take that walk, but I'm like, so what's going on? And they say shuttles. So they actually have school buses from Dulles Town Center to take you to Commanders Park. I'm like, man.
By the way, just real quick, just quick plug in. You can see all of this that Kirby's talking about on his vlog that he made for
that vlog. Too.
Yeah.
He
likes his iced coffee. He really likes his iced coffee. gotta have it.
Is that the only thing you took away from it?
Yeah, actually. The beginning of it, at least.
That vlog was. I worked hard.
It's a good idea.
That,
yeah,
and
no, it was.
I mean, the video editing wasn't the best, but I got some good footage. So yeah, if you check out the Kirby on Sports Podcast YouTube page, go ahead, take a look at that. But getting back to the shuttles, the buses, they had buses busing you to Commanders Park. Getting off, obviously, there's a line to get in, and you had to wait along the driveway into Commanders Park. And I was lucky enough to get there around 7:15 both days, and the gates opened at roughly 8. And that's prime time. You see these nice luxury cars just driving next to you going into Commanders Park. I saw Chase Young's car. It's a nice car. Jack Del Rio's car. Cheeseman's car. Tressway's car.
Tressway.
Yeah, Tressway. But a lot of fancy cars, and I'm not going to discuss whose car was whose out of privacy, respect for privacy, but still a lot of nice cars, and some players' windows were down.
What?
True.
What?
That's true.
I
think.
I don't remember.
I just totally derailed him.
Yeah, you derailed it all, Carlos.
All right, keep going. Keep going.
So,
you shattered his earth right there, man.
Yeah. So, anyways, some players' windows were down. I saw Chase Young in his nice sports car, and he was playing music. I'm like, "Sup, Chase?" And obviously, he didn't respond, but that was pretty cool. And saw Cam Cheeseman, the long snapper for the Commanders. I'm like, "Sup, Cam? Have a good day." So the players were pretty nice in that aspect. And then getting in to the park, going down the wooden steps, it was a breeze. Security was a breeze. The team let you bring in coolers with drinks, with the exception of alcoholic beverages and glass bottles. So that was good. I mean, security checkpoint took like less than a minute. So on and so forth. And walking down, you could see how much the team revamped this park. And granted, we're not a Baltimore Ravens facility or a Dallas Cowboys facility. The Commanders are a
Ravens facility to look like. To be completely honest, Dan, I don't think I've ever seen the Ravens facility.
I've never been there. I've only seen like clips and stuff.
I haven't even seen like pictures and stuff. Like, so I I legitimately have no idea what the Ravens facility looks like.
I mean,
yeah, it's pretty nice. I would say it's somewhere between Washington and Dallas. Definitely not as good as Dallas because Dallas has all.
We have a whole We basically have a whole town.
Well, it's not like a complex or anything, but the team made the most out of the space given.
Yeah, it'll be
They
interesting to see
had
what ownership does
they
with
had bleachers, a full set of bleachers with a VIP section on the very top. You had handicap accessible seating
that.
next to the bleachers. In the bleachers, there were a good amount of bleachers. It was like a normal size high school football grandstand with the option for fans to stand in front of it as well.
Cool.
You had cooling stations
Mm.
because it was hot.
Yeah. That
hot.
was because that was during the one of the hottest weeks of the year thus far.
Yeah, and food trucks, food vendors, a team store. Yeah,
Wow, they really did go all out.
and then a water refilling station too,
That's good.
Mhm.
which was great. So,
So hold on, Kurt, real quick. So you did you go last year to camp, or did you not win the
No.
lottery?
no,
No?
I did
Okay.
not enter it.
So I was
no.
about to ask. I was gonna be like, so what is? So would you say, or like, have you heard like? Obviously, you see, there's been pictures of like the difference between last year and this year, but I was gonna ask like, was all this stuff included last year? These water
No.
refilling stations, cooling stations.
I don't believe so. To my knowledge, none of that was included.
I
And
went.
And
I
the
think-
team said, "Oh, you can get food at One Loudon,"
which is like from there, like 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
And One Loudon doesn't really have at that time didn't have that much this stuff there.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
Good point.
going back, old ownership, I don't think they care enough to do that.
I don't
No,
think
they
Dan
didn't.
Snyder. I mean, it was obvious. Dan Snyder didn't really care about the fans, and we all knew this. I mean, look at the state that FedEx Field has gotten to because of Dan Snyder's neglect.
Mhm.
He's happy collecting checks, stealing money from people, and all that. Allegedly, of course, allegedly stealing money and stuff from season ticket holders and stuff like that. He was happy just raking in all this cash, but he was not investing it back and investing in the fan base and taking care of the fan base. That's how come it's such a stark difference, because now you have an owner who is giving you guys all these nice amenities at training camp. Anybody can come, the ticket is free, all that stuff. He's got a plan to revamp FedEx Field to make it last long enough for them to be able to eventually build a new stadium, whether it be in Maryland, Virginia, or DC. But they have come out with a realistic timeline of, hey, we're going to have to stay at FedEx Field for probably the next couple years. Definitely by 2027 to 2030, we're going to have something more in place for a stadium. So I'll be very interested to see how the fan experience at FedEx changes with this new ownership, who's trying to win the fan base over, compared to what we experienced when we went to go see, the Chiefs and the Commanders, or at the time, the football team.
So with the new ownership, there was also, I saw another friend of the podcast who has been on before, the VP of guest experience, Joey Colby Begovich. He was at every day of camp I was at, and he busts his tail to make sure everything runs smoothly. And it was great to see the fan experience do so well just at training camp, as Dan had to step out for just a second. But I think with the new ownership and the guest experience team, they're going to find a good solution to figure out what they need to do to upgrade, kick it into the next gear for fan experience. So, but what was really cool, day one, obviously you have the bleachers, all the stuff, the cooling stations, water refilling, the whole nine. You had a ton of fans against the fence where the players came out, and every time a player came out, a big name player like a Terry, a Chase Young, they would just all explode. They would all start roaring, and it was just great to see. And the fan base was really involved. And you can see that all on the vlog I posted on our YouTube page. Access it via KirbyOnSports.com or the Kirby on Sports podcast YouTube page. But it was an exciting time. Nothing like I've ever seen it before. And I said this on the news too, that this is a different energy, a different atmosphere. And it was just so incredible to see, because I believe the old ownership wouldn't have done anything like this. So the best part about day one is after the players start to come out, then you see Josh Harris walk down behind, and then behind him, team president Jason Wright. And
who has been on the show before.
no, he hasn't.
Oh, he hasn't? Oh, my
No,
bad.
he has not.
I'm thinking of somebody else. My bad.
No, but I mean, so Josh Harris walks out. He's signing fans' autographs, taking pictures. So is Jason Wright. That's something old ownership wouldn't have done. I know that 100%. Jason Wright took 5 minutes so I could tell him about my podcast and to thank him for what he has done for the content creators in our community, which was great that he actually cared and listened to what I had to say. Because any other team president, yeah, I mean, Jerry, if I was a Cowboys fan, Jerry Jones wouldn't give me the time of day to say something like that, you know?
Yeah, but Jerry is up there. You're not talking to Jerry. You're talking to like Steven. He's the president.
Yeah.
Jerry's the owner.
Yeah, but the team owner, Josh Harris, I got a picture with him. I got a picture with Jason Wright.
Yeah, but you gotta, but in that comparison, it also doesn't make sense, because you're talking about these guys who just bought the team, who are trying to make good with, and get a lot of goodwill with the fan base. Jerry Jones has owned this team since 95 or since the 80s. He doesn't, like this is, he doesn't need to be in the good graces of the fans. This is his team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that, but still, it was just great to see. And all politics aside, because I know where some people might go with this, but after that, Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia, came out. And I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool to see him. Obviously, I know.
Yeah, it's always cool to see, the governor is coming to training camp. That's a big deal. Like that is a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And they all started cheering for him. He took pictures, signed autographs. But as we're recording, the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, came to training camp yesterday, and all the governor of Virginia and Maryland.
Interesting that the Maryland governor came to that. I wonder if he's been to a Ravens training camp yet.
Well, no. The thing is, why I think, as we welcome Dan right back, but why I think the governors were coming.
They're definitely trying to get the stadium.
Vying for position.
They want the stadium.
Absolutely. Correct. And if you missed it, Dan, if you missed it, Dan, we were to the part where Glenn Youngkin was walking out. And I mean, not to get political again, but he was campaigning too. And he was handing out
he's
hats.
up for re-election soon, so.
Yeah, he was handing out Youngkin hats.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, no. This isn't a political podcast, so we're not going to talk about it.
So, anyways, he was campaigning and he had hats. Tote bags full of hats. I saw one, and they weren't the cheap hats. They were the New Era quality hats, and I'm like, good grief. And obviously, politicians spend every penny on campaigning so they can try to win.
Oh, they don't, but
whatever. But
besides the point.
But Youngkin was there. I think he was vying to get the stadium in Virginia, but it was cool. Everybody erupted for him too. So that was pretty cool to see. But all three of them were there signing autographs, taking pictures, so on and so forth. But it was funny. In the instance of Josh Harris, Jason Wright, and Glenn Youngkin all walking out, Terry McLaurin gives his cleats to the first fan on the right side of the fence going down to the field, and then sort of sneaks around, because all the fans' attention are on the owner, president, and governor, and everybody then erupts, Terry! And I'm like, oh my gosh. But that was so much footage to get on the vlog, and it's all on the vlog. Again, you got to watch it if you haven't already. But it was really good to see. And then the actual training camp, it was, a team practice. You could only film certain portions, other parts. I mean, I respected that. In other parts, I just watched, listened to Eric Bieniemy tear into the offense when he did not like the production. Literally,
need that.
Players are
get off the field. Get off the field. Get off the field.
Apparently, the Commanders players are complaining he's too intense, and I'm just like,
okay,
look, that's what it takes. That's what it takes, man. He's won Super Bowls.
I don't want to go there because Ron Rivera botched that. He botched it to all end. It should have stayed in-house, and he had to read a prepared statement the next day.
It's Ron Rivera. What do you expect? He's always got his
Amen.
Always got his foot in his mouth.
Thank you. But besides the point,
he's a good guy. He's a good guy. I like Ron Rivera. I would like him
to be the head of the like in charge of team culture, but
he's not a great head football coach though. No. He's just not.
But Eric Bieniemy, you could hear him from where I was standing along the fence.
Sure.
He gets into it.
Yeah, that's good.
It's crazy to see.
It's really good. They need that.
Ron Rivera in my I've been to an OTA and 3 training camps. I don't really hear Ron Rivera yelling or anything. The only coach I could hear clearly was Eric Bieniemy. That's saying something. So watch that come the regular season. See how the Commanders' offense looks. But the day 2, I got footage of Eric Bieniemy on the vlog again, saying, "Hey, have a good season." And he looked straight into the
give me that phone. No. He just smashes it.
Get on the field and give me 20 laps right now, Kirby.
Yeah, that's it. That's in the vlog too.
But it was cool, and obviously seeing some media connections there as well was really great. Met a lot of new connections, a lot of familiar connections as well. It was just an amazing time to see. I actually met somebody I've been wanting to meet for a long time, Chick Hernandez. He's really great. Used to do post-game coverage on NBC Sports Washington for the then Washington Redskins, along with B. Mitch. But everybody was there. Some alumni were there. And I mean, who else? B. Mitch was there. I met Santana Moss, Logan Paulson. He's on the Command Center coverage.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like everybody honestly had a really, really great time with training camp. And to wrap this up, it was just a lot of fun to see some of the content creators, some other fans I knew from past meetups and games and so on and so forth. But the coolest thing to happen, and this will be where I end this before we move on. Kevin Durant showed up to camp, and when he was leaving, I was able to run up with my video camera, and I swear he looks massive.
Yeah, man, that dude is 6'10".
Yeah, he's
got a 7-foot wingspan. That dude is big.
But it was funny. I said this in the vlog. I'm like, "Hey, KD, welcome to DC." He looks at me and he's like, "Bro, I'm from DC."
Yeah,
Kirby, come on.
But I got a reaction, and it was a good video. It was a really good video. But a lot of great stuff from the Washington Commanders, from what I've seen. Just, I mean, the fan experience in general, not to mention some of the good I've seen on the field from Howell Chase Young without his brace. Some players taking time to autograph. The interaction was there. It was a lot of fun. It was such a blast, and I really enjoyed it. Kudos to the Washington Commanders for allowing fans free tickets to come to training camp. And
finally,
I hope they find more better ways to improve to make training camp next year even better.
Well, they're off to a good start. It shows they gave a crap about the fans this year. So that's the first thing you can do.
Yeah, I imagine they'll figure out. I think a lot of this that they did was, I guess, kind of the bare minimum. Bleachers, cooling stations, water filling stations, and stuff like that. Food trucks and stuff like that. Yeah, I feel like that's like the bare minimum. But
But how much time did they have?
That's what I'm saying. I think given that the sale, like they officially took over the team. Like, I think maybe like 2 weeks before training camp. Like, I don't think they had that much time to really set up a great, like,
right.
A fan experience.
And all the stuff was rented too. So Joey told me that they sort of experiment and see if they need more or less. Which,
that makes sense to rent it. I mean, why
good.
would they buy it?
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So cool.
So
awesome.
So that's my experience from training camp right here on the Kirby on Sports podcast. But we have so much more as we get into the rest of our local teams, the Ravens, and then Carlos's Cowboys and Chiefs. We'll get to that and more right after this break. You're listening to the Kirby on Sports podcast. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Welcome back to episode 181 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Yeah, absolutely. Big thanks to our sponsors as always. So, just continuing on with sort of what we expect out of our teams this year, and just getting back into the things, I'd like to turn to Mr. Dan Dembski.
Oh, whoa. Don't think you're getting out of this. You just talked about your training camp story. We're already on your team. Why are we skipping over you? No. Now you got to tell us how you think your team's going to do. And then I'm going to tear it all down, of course.
Yeah, be honest. It's time to be honest about this season. What do you think?
Sam Howell. I think he's good. We don't have enough sample size. Going back to week 18 against Dallas, Carlos will say it was a throwaway. Probably so, because they were already in the playoffs. But based off what I've seen in training camp, he throws the ball really well, and he made some pretty good, accurate throws to targets like Diami Brown, Terry McLaurin. But again, it's training camp. I don't put much stock into training camp.
Everybody looks good in shorts.
Everybody looks good in training camp.
That was going to be how I started my team. Everybody looks good in shorts.
Well,
but
I mean, the Commanders, I think they're going to make strides to get a little bit better. But I think the rest of the NFC East is just going to be a lot better. I'm not saying the Commanders don't have weapons. I'm not
I'm
saying
not saying that either.
Yeah, I mean, they have weapons.
Mm-hmm.
They have Sam Howell, which we still need to see more about Sam Howell.
Mm-hmm.
Don't disagree.
So that Chase Young, he's out of his brace. I think he needs to prove it.
This is a
It's
big
Oh,
year
yeah,
for
yeah,
him.
it's a
big
Big
year
year
for
for
him.
him.
Big
Do or
year.
die. Do or die. Really.
It is a big year.
Yeah.
Forbes looks good. The first round draft pick.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, people are saying he's a lockdown corner, but again, it's training camp. So I think the Commanders middle of the pack again. I don't think they're going to make it to the playoffs.
I agree.
But my bold prediction, I've said this on numerous outlets. If the Commanders get off to a very rocky start,
Which
Ron Rivera will not be around.
I wouldn't call that a bold prediction. I would say that's just reality. I mean, I think they've given him too much of a
Some
long leash
people
anyway.
think it's bold.
Well,
I'm just putting that out there.
I don't know if they would fire Ron Rivera so quickly this season, especially with new ownership coming in. I think they would at
Maybe
least
not.
give him the whole season. But
No.
the way I see it is, that the first few weeks of the season, I mean, the first half of the season is just a gauntlet for Washington. I think all in all, they're definitely you should realistically definitely win week 1 just because it's against Arizona and Arizona has nobody. If you guys don't beat Arizona, it's a problem, you know.
And they just lost their running back for the year too.
Yeah, I saw that too. So like they literally have Kyler Murray's not coming back until halfway through the season. They obviously lost DeAndre Hopkins. They don't really have any weapons or anybody to really fear on the Cardinals. So I think week 1 you guys should definitely do well. But I mean, after that, I mean, it's like you guys are playing the Bills, you guys are playing, all these other good teams that it's just really hard to see. I think you guys are going to fall too far behind to start the season. It's going to be too much ground to make up. But I think the second half of the season is going to really show where this team is at in terms of, like, are you guys at least competing in these games? And are you guys making up ground at least with possibly one of the roughest starts of the, regular season that it looks like it's going to be?
Well, I'm just saying, as a fan, I'm not trying to hype this up because people think Sam Howell's going to be great.
Been saying that every year,
every quarterback,
but every team does that, right? Every fan.
I don't want to hype it up because I know if I hype it up after week 1, which I probably will still do.
I think obviously still have to temper yourself after. Like if we get to,
you just want to see improvement.
If we get to like week 5, and Sam Howell is lighting it up and looking incredible, right? Even and against the good teams, and sure, even if Washington's not winning per se, right? But like Sam Howell is still looking solid. He's looking good. Then we can start having the conversation. But I feel like week 1 is still a game where it's just like temper yourselves because this is an Arizona team that's very banged up, doesn't have anybody, and nobody's expecting a lot out of them. So it's like I still want to put a lot in that. But if we get to the Buffalo game and he does well against Buffalo,
then you can talk about it.
Then we can start to be like, yo, Sam Howell, this really might be something.
Yeah. But I think for the Commanders, temper yourselves. I think the start of the season is going to be very, very rough. But like you said, Carlos, how they bounce back, how they're able to handle adversity. And I think Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator will have a good strategy on how to bounce back from adversity if they get into an early hole to start the season that they have to dig themselves out of to get back to 500, a winning record for a chance at the playoffs, which I highly think it's highly doubtful in my mind that the Commanders make it to the playoffs, being that the NFC East the way it is.
It's deep.
I mean,
it's deep.
Yeah, I mean, here's the first 10 games on the Commanders' schedule. Cardinals, probably a win. You got the Broncos at
Could be, but they should be better. They should be better.
Depends to see how the Broncos have changed with Sean Payton.
Yep.
Bills at home.
Oof,
that's probably going to be a loss. I mean, but Eagles at the Eagles.
Tough.
Bears on Thursday night, which is a winnable game. Definitely a winnable game. They
But
have
prime
improved
time.
a lot, and in prime time, they have improved a lot.
Prime time for Washington, I don't know.
Falcons, I think you got
should be a win.
It should be a win. Tough game against the Giants.
Tough.
The Eagles again. The Patriots, which, I mean, you guys could handle the Patriots. It's not like they're not the Patriots of old. And then the Seahawks, and then the Giants, and then the Cowboys.
That's a tough schedule.
It's a gauntlet, man. All the way from week 1 to Thanksgiving, it's a gauntlet, dude. And that's why, and that's the thing that sucks so much, is that, like, this team has the weapons, it has the pieces, but I just feel like it just sucks being with a quarterback that's so unproven, that only has 1 game of experience. And granted, yes, he performed very well, but you got to also factor in the circumstances of the game. Dallas was probably taking it easy because they were going into the playoffs already. Why risk ourselves, for a meaningless game? We already knew who we were going to play. We were going to play Tampa Bay either way.
So let me rewind just for a second here. Going back to training camp, I did notice that Sam Howell, after every play, he immediately goes back to Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, he's going to definitely lean on this. I have no doubt in my mind that Sam Howell is giving his all into this. He's not, this is a guy who's, got something to prove, and he's going to lean on the guy that coached Patrick Mahomes. Always got to bring it back to him. He's going to lean on the guy who's won 2 Super Bowls. He's going to try to get his input, be like, okay, what did you think of this? What did you think? I just don't. I just wonder what it's going to be like in the actual game, because the game is different than training camp. The speed of the game is different. He's only experienced 1 game as a starter.
He hasn't been hit a lot. That's the other thing too.
He hasn't played. We just saw he's playing against the gauntlet of teams. He's playing against 3 NFC. He's playing 3 NFC East teams in his first 12 weeks as a starter. He's playing the Buffalo Bills too. He's got to go to Denver. It's a gauntlet, man. And I just feel like that's the thing that sucks, is that, like, had they had like last year's schedule and he played last year's schedule, I feel like that would have given him more time to kind of adjust. But he's getting thrown right into the fire immediately.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's going to be very interesting to see for sure. But the key word, just temper yourselves, Commanders fans, because this could go really bad or this could go really good. But that's all I have pretty much.
Cool.
Yeah. So, okay.
Well, I guess we're throwing it to Dan.
Yeah.
Let's throw it to Dan. The Baltimore Ravens, obviously Lamar Jackson under contract. No more controversy.
Woo! That's all over. Thank God.
It's all over with. So they
right
can
before the draft too. That was some of the best. That was the best. And then our draft was really good too. I was happy with our draft.
Yeah, so I'm
follow
sure
that up immediately.
Hold on. You know what else was great? Our draft show was great.
Yes.
The 3-man booth finally together in person for the draft show. Fantastic. Shout out to Anthony's Pizza. Shout out to Felice for hosting us again another year. Can't wait to do it next year, boys, as always.
Absolutely.
It's always a good time. Yeah, I think that's the headline, right? You said it. It's Lamar got his money, not as much as he expected, but we all know how that went down. It's a test for the offense this year, I think. You got Zay Flowers in the first round. I think, again, everybody looks good in shorts, but he's looked good in training camp. It seems like he's building quite a rapport with Lamar, and he just looks really comfortable in that offense. New offensive coordinator, Todd Monken. Very glad that Greg Roman has departed.
God,
that should have happened like 2 years ago. But so that's an exciting new offense where they're doing some inventive things, and I think similar to Sam Howell wanting to connect with Eric Bieniemy, you're going to see that with Lamar as well. But this is Lamar's team. I mean, he needs to. I mean, he's already won an MVP. We've talked about this before.
He's got his money now. He's got to win. Now he's got to win.
He's got to prove.
You got to the championship game now. Like you got your money. You got what you wanted. You got some weapons around you. You got to win.
And even without J.K. Dobbins, if he doesn't start the regular season, which he is, there's a lot of flip flop with John Harbaugh. Oh, he's getting there, he's getting there. I hate that he does that, and a lot of coaches do this too. It's this thing where players have injuries, and it's very just there's no details or information. It's sort of like the Bill Belichick way of handling it, which I don't know if you guys saw, but a reporter asked Belichick about, I forget what player it was hurt. And he was like, "I'm not a doctor. Like, I don't have a medical degree." Typical Belichick answer. I was like, "Oh, that reporter should have thought before he asked that question."
Oh, you poor sap.
I felt kind of bad for the guy, but Harbaugh sort of that way. He's not quite that much of a curmudgeon as Bill Belichick is, but I'm not a fan of that. I hope J.K. Dobbins is back. But even that, I think the Ravens have a pretty good backfield, and that's going to be key too for Lamar, especially coming back. I mean, he missed the last 6 weeks last year. Didn't travel with the team for the playoff game, so he's got a good amount to prove, and I think the biggest thing right now is, can he stay healthy? If he does, this offense should be very dynamic, very talented across the board, and hopefully has some of those callbacks to the 2019 MVP season when defenses just couldn't figure him out. This is the best surrounding cast he's ever had, as Carlos, kind of alluded to at the top. He's got the weapons now. It's time. It's time to prove that you are a top 5 quarterback in this league, which I think he can prove that. I think on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, I expect more consistency this year from them. I think last year they really had to work hard because when Lamar is out the last 6 weeks, you turn to Tyler Huntley. The defense was on the field a lot last year, so they gave up some big plays. But I think late in the season last year, the defense stepped it up big time and really started to play well. And even in the playoff game against Cincinnati, I felt like the defense kept us in the game for and really gave us a chance to win that game. If
not been for that fumble,
certain fumbles don't happen. Could have been a different outcome. But I mean, the key thing for the Ravens, again, and it's been this way for them for since they won the Super Bowl, is can they stay healthy? That season they won the Super Bowl, they were pretty consistently healthy throughout the season. The guys they did miss came back in time for the playoffs, and everything was sort of worked that way. So it's true with every team, right? Every team says we got to stay healthy, but particularly the Ravens, who have had issues, especially in their secondary for years and years. Their secondary has to stay healthy, especially in these divisional games. You're going up against some really good receivers. Obviously, Jamar Chase at the top of that list. But there's good receivers all over this division. So you got to stay healthy. You got to stay on your toes. I think the Ravens are in pretty good shape. And we still have Justin Tucker. So, if a game comes down to a kick, he's the GOAT. I think we'll be in good shape. But yeah, I mean, you guys alluded to it at the start of this. The storyline is Lamar Jackson. They're going to be talking about him all season.
I mean,
he's got the money now.
Have you touched on Odell yet?
Yeah.
Odell Beckham.
Tell me your thoughts, Dan.
I don't know, man. I think I don't know. It's just I'm very concerned about coming off a major injury like that. I mean, obviously he missed. He's
done it before. This isn't the first time he's torn his ACL. He's torn it before.
Yeah, but he's older now. He's not a younger guy like he used to be.
But he did take a whole year off. So
true. And that also has me concerned, right? He hasn't played football in over a year now. It's like we'll see what happens. I think he's not the number one receiver, so I'm at least. Well, I guess you could put him in that number one spot. He's probably more like a number 2 receiver. Because if Bateman's healthy, he should be the number one receiver.
The problem, man. Bateman
he's not healthy right now.
Yeah, he needs to. I mean, you said it best. I mean, Baltimore's main issue the past 3 years has been injuries.
Big time. Well, and Bateman just came off the PUP list finally, so. But if I'm the Ravens and they're going to do this anyway, he's not going to play in the preseason. What's the point?
I wouldn't.
He's supposed to be either your number 1 or number 2 guy. You don't do that. Don't risk it.
If anything, maybe just get him a couple snaps, just so he can feel for the game, but nothing extensive.
Yeah. And probably the same for Odell. I mean, I don't think he's going to be playing a whole lot in the preseason either, which is fine. The
play
last
Lamar.
thing,
You play Lamar.
no, Lamar's not going to even step on the field. I don't think in the preseason. Maybe I get what is it game? Well, there's only 3 games now in the preseason,
3
right?
games in the
Yep,
preseason
3
now,
games.
Yeah, so maybe in game 3 he plays a series or 2, and that's about it. But yeah, you guys said it. I think the thing with Odell is, I mean, when he's on and healthy, man, he's just incredible. People allude back to how big of a weapon he was for the Rams when they got to that Super Bowl. I mean, he was huge.
If he had stayed
And he would've
healthy, I think he would have been the MVP. He would have won an MVP.
Yeah. So, but that was a long time ago. We're talking about 2 years ago now, and
It wasn't that long ago, but
yeah, but I'm excited. I think it's cool to have a big name player, even if a lot of people think he's past his prime. But he's out to prove people wrong too. I mean, he wants to go out there and show that he's still got it, and I think he could. If we're limited and he's sort of the only guy to get the ball to, we still have Mark Andrews. So, that's what guy I haven't even brought up yet. He's one of the best tight ends in the league. Not as good as
when he's on.
Yeah. Yeah, last year was rough because they kind of had no one else, so he got double teamed, and there's nothing he could really do. But yeah, I think they finally have an array of guys, when healthy, who can make plays for this team and make the job easier for Lamar, so it doesn't have to be all about Lamar scrambling around trying to make stuff happen and extend plays. And I think Odell Beckham could be a great part of that. One thing they've missed in the offense, I think, is just simple route running the past few years, their passing concepts, and just what Greg Roman was after the last 2 or 3 seasons has been horrendous.
Agreed.
You just look at what they're doing and you're like,
when we went to the game in person, you heard me. I was like, what are they doing? Like this is the dumbest offense of all time.
Well, and I think guys like Dan Orlovsky or Orlovsky or whatever, or Schlavsky, have pointed out on ESPN their concepts and why do you have 2 guys bunched running basically the same route, and over and over there's 20, 25 clips of that happening. So that should change with Todd Monken now in charge. I think he seems to have a pretty solid background, and I think the passing offense is really going to improve because it really can't get much worse. If you're looking at just conception wise, it was brutal. It's been brutal the last couple seasons. So that's the biggest thing I'm excited for is just change. Just making those changes, and I think the Ravens defense will do what they do. I mean, it's still Baltimore's identity. I think to have a solid defense, it always has been, obviously. So I'm not concerned with our defense too much. Again, it's just about our secondary staying healthy because we lost so many guys in the secondary over the years, and it's just been brutal. And not last year, but the year before. I mean, we had guys out there who were practice squad guys. They literally came off the street and played. So, and the fact that they've for the most part been in, right in the thick of the playoff chase with some of these injuries they've had over the years is amazing. So it just preaches to what John Harbaugh's been able to do. And I know I haven't been easy on him, but
rightfully so.
Yeah, I think he's done a lot of stuff that I don't agree with, but this is going to be an exciting year for the Ravens. I mean, I talked about it to start. Cincinnati's going to be, I mean, what Cincinnati's been the last couple seasons, which is probably one of the top teams in the AFC. Cleveland should be better, and I think Pittsburgh is going to be better than people think. I think Kenny Pickett's gotten better, and I expect them to be a little more competitive this year.
I see them as like the
dark horse, right?
I don't have them as a dark horse. No, I still think this is a two horse race for the division.
Yeah.
I think it's still between Cincinnati and Baltimore. I think Pittsburgh is more of they're just going to be a spoiler kind of guy like team. I don't think they're going to. I don't have them making the playoffs. I don't, but I have them definitely still being in that like sub 500, like not too much because they still have a lot of issues on their team, but I do think that they're going to improve for sure. And then Cleveland, I just truly have no faith in Cleveland, honestly. I don't think Deshaun Watson. I mean, he may prove me wrong too, but I don't know. I just from what I saw last season, I didn't see the Deshaun Watson that was in Houston. But
I hope he fails. I mean, he's the only player I'm rooting for to fail. So
Yeah, and
I
it
think
sucks
a
because
lot of people agree.
I used to really like Deshaun Watson.
Mhm.
I did, but obviously all the personal things that happened and all that stuff, and yeah, I'm not definitely not rooting for the guy. But I think for sure, for Baltimore, I mean the player I'm definitely most excited to see out there is Zay Flowers.
Yes.
He was incredible in college. And I'm very excited to see how his game is going to blend well with like the game of Lamar Jackson. And I think he's going to definitely, open up a lot of passing opportunities for Lamar Jackson. And just, yeah, I'm very excited to see how that kid does. And, I like I said, I think it's just going to be a race between Baltimore and Cincinnati. And, this, I said it earlier too. Like, this is Lamar Jackson's. Like, okay, you got your money, you've gotten the MVPs, you've been to the playoffs. Now show me you can stay healthy and that you can at least make it to the championship game.
Mm-hmm. Totally
It's
agree.
time.
It's time. Yep, I agree with you 100%. And
Yeah,
that's what makes the Joe Burrow injury. If he's out the first 2 or 3 weeks, which we don't know.
See how bad that strain is. I mean, he's got plenty of time to come back, but I mean, they're still being very hush hush about it. So it's kind of like
it makes you wonder if it's worse.
If it's really bad. It's worse than what we thought.
Yep, that's what my thought is too. And it's funny to see Jamar Chase say, he can be out 5 weeks. He can come back, and we'll be fine. And he's probably not wrong. Well, I don't know. If you're 0-5, it's hard to dig yourself out of that hole. I mean, now, do I think they'd be 0-5 without Joe Burrow? Probably not. They'd win a couple games.
Definitely not.
but he's a huge difference maker.
Oh yeah, 100%.
He's the energy. So
I'd like to echo what you all both said. I'm really excited to see what Zay Flowers has to offer because his college tape, I looked back at some of his college tape recently. He looks very explosive. And I'm wondering.
I wanted Dallas to take him. I was hoping he was going to fall to Dallas and Dallas would take him, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the explosiveness he had in college translates well to the Baltimore Ravens. So I'm looking forward to seeing that out of the Ravens.
We haven't had an explosive receiver in
forever. A little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Like what? Anquan Bolden? Maybe.
It's been a while though. That's what I'm saying, man. It's been like since the Super Bowl, basically.
No, I'd say Hollywood Brown was pretty explosive. It's just he was inconsistent.
Yeah. He at times just couldn't catch the ball. It's like, what are you doing? But
all right.
Yeah, he's got to catch the ball. you can be as explosive as you want, but you gotta reel that thing in. Come on.
In the bread basket.
Put it in the bread basket. Yep.
All right, gentlemen, before we move on, just taking a moment, a word from our friends at Shenandoah Music. School time is almost here. Shenandoah Music is here to help your beginning band students. They have easy and hassle-free online rental processes. You can rent music equipment at www.shenmusicstore.com. All of their instruments are band director approved. They have the top quality instruments from Yamaha, Ludwig, Smeller, Scherl, Roth, and more. They also partner with local directors to make sure your student is getting the exact equipment and accessories he or she needs. Make sure you check out Shenandoah Music at 2133 South Loudon Street in Winchester, Virginia, or visit them online again, www.shenmusicstore.com. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back with more right after this.
Hey, sports fans. Thank you for listening to and supporting the Kirby on Sports podcast with founder and host Josh Kirby, along with lead contributor Dan Dembski. Like, subscribe, and give them a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast from. My name is Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation. Our company helps leaders build engaged and productive teams. Exclusively for listeners of the Kirby on Sports podcast, you can take an opportunity to discover your primary communication style and learn more about effective communication with others. Text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free copy of the Working From Home Communication Assessment, where you'll learn your primary communication style, how to better communicate with others not like you, and tips on working remotely based on your personal communication style. 10 minutes, tons of resources. Learn about yourself and your team. Again, text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free assessment report today. I'm Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, where we help you and your team be more engaged and productive by understanding each other better. Back to you, Josh.
Hello, this is Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate. Giving a shout out to all you people listening to the Kirby on Sports podcast. I'm excited to be a proud sponsor of Josh and his podcast. We've known each other for years, and I want to give you a quick heads up that if you need anything with real estate, whether it be buying, selling, renting, looking for land, commercial, residential, you name it, give me a shout. Our office downtown on 41 South Cameron Street is amazing. Looking forward to sharing more with you. I love being on the podcast with Josh, and you can listen to me also on my own podcast, Iconic Talk, in any platform that you would look for. Find me and my co-host Megan Eanes. Look for us, Iconic Talk. Look for me as a realtor, Icon Real Estate, downtown, and I would love to connect with you. 540-247-1527 is my contact information. Call, text me anytime. Looking forward to hearing more of how I can help you guys out for the people who listen to Kirby on Sports podcast. Thanks so much.
Welcome back to the Kirby on Sports podcast. You've heard from me. You've heard from Dan. Now we'll get to Carlos Martinez as we break down both the Chiefs and the Cowboys. Carlos, which one do you want to talk about more, the Super Bowl champions or the Dallas Cowboys?
I think out of respect for the Super Bowl champs, we'll leave them for last. We'll end the show with them, and I think we'll just go ahead and talk about Dallas.
All right,
sounds good.
So,
can I say one thing?
Go ahead.
I'm really scared. I think Dallas is going to look very good. That's just my early thoughts, but maybe you will disagree.
No, I mean, obviously, comparatively, last season going into the season, I was very doom and gloom. I did not like the offseason we had last offseason. I thought we did nothing to really improve the team. I thought we worsened our team by, with the Amari Cooper stuff and all that. But, obviously Dallas were kind of blessed last season and, luckily got an easier schedule than, most teams. And we survived a Dak Prescott week 1 injury and were able to kind of stay going. And
I remember that too. I was like, Carlos, are you rescinding your fanhood?
We were in a dark place, but Cooper Rush did his job. Won. Majority of his starts. Obviously, we lost to the Eagles, and then Dak came back, and Dak kind of had a very roller coaster season in terms of a lot of interceptions, but made a lot of good plays as well. And granted, with the receiving core he had, with basically CD being the only guy that he could really consistently rely on. It's tough because, Michael Gallup was coming fresh back from that ACL injury, so he wasn't the same. And none of the other guys were really stepping up, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. And, obviously, the whole Zeke thing and whatever, the way the season ended against the 49ers, that game was there to be won. And it was a good season last season, but also a very disappointing one, as per usual with the Dallas Cowboys. That's how it always goes. But I mean, the moves they made this season were surprisingly good. I mean, obviously letting go of Zeke, I think, was a much needed move. I think, obviously, the fan base loves Ezekiel Elliott, but, we can all agree that he was definitely not the guy he was, his rookie year. What running back is the same running back, but the lifespan of a running back is very short, and it felt like he was definitely at the end of his, at least in Dallas. We'll see how he does whenever he signs with another team. And we all kind of wanted to give the reins to Tony Pollard and kind of see like where that could go. which we have done. And then obviously, they made they got Brendan Cooks. They traded for Stephon Gilmore, really shoring up these positions that, are going to be great. Obviously another year of CeeDee Lamb being the number one. Michael Gallup is, another year post ACL. So it'll be interesting to see how much he improves. And then, of course, the biggest change is, Kellen Moore is gone. And, I have conflicting thoughts about Kellen Moore because obviously, the offense did good. We were always at the top, but in certain situations, it felt like Kellen Moore was just not experienced enough for that role. And granted, we were 12-5 2 years in a row, essentially. It's hard to really bash the guy when you win that many games. But at the same time, when you come up with the concepts of the last game that was played, the last play against San Francisco, what are we running there? Yeah. But yeah, no, going into, this season, I'm much more optimistic about the Dallas Cowboys. I think, look, Dak Prescott normally is more, he's much better at protecting the ball. When you look at his interception, his interception rate, the past couple years, last season was an anomaly. It's not the norm for Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott normally does not throw that many interceptions. So I believe that'll probably regress back to the mean, and whatnot. I'm just more excited to see how does this look with this new receiving core, and how does this look under Mike McCarthy's offense, where it's more West Coast. It's more West Coast offense, in terms of it's about timing, and he's going to take a 3-step drop, and then it's
balls out.
Balls out. It's got to be there. It's not going to be kind of like how the offense was, where it was more free range and kind of okay, if you feel like you need a little more time, you got to let these routes develop. Jesus. But it'll be interesting to see how this offense does, man, because we kind of saw how the offense looked in Green Bay the last couple years that Mike McCarthy was there. It didn't look great. Aaron Rodgers was very frustrated with it. So it'll be interesting to see what changes Mike McCarthy has made to his system and whatnot. Because to be completely honest, despite the fact that he has shown improvement every year that he's been the coach with the Dallas Cowboys, aside from 2020, but that was a weird season, especially with Dak breaking his leg, it'll be, we went from, not making the playoffs to wild card loss to division loss. So, despite that, this truly might be Mike McCarthy's last shot at it. He's definitely in the hot seat because, this franchise has been so deprived since the 90s that we need something and we need to see improvement. So we definitely can't go out. It's more of it's championship game or bust for the Dallas Cowboys this season.
Can't be one and done. Certainly. That's what it's been forever.
We can't go out in the wild card. And I think we could have some grace in the divisional depending on how that game would go. If we performed good, but let's just say the other team was just better also.
Yeah.
Then we could give him some leeway, be oh, well, this was just a better team that we were up against.
Right.
But if it's another game against San Francisco, the 2 past San Francisco playoff games, he'd have to go after that because it's gonna be dude, come on, what are we doing? Yeah. Notice how I haven't said anything about the defense because I have no worries about the defense. Another year under Dan Quinn. Another year of domination is coming with Micah Parsons.
The fact that he stayed is huge.
Is big because he had plenty of opportunities and he felt like there's still unfinished business.
That's so rare to see a coordinator stay.
But it could also be another case of he may, if let's say they let Mike McCarthy go, Dan Quinn's right there. We just promote him straight to head coach. So it could be a thing of Mike. He might just be aligning himself, for that
Good
spot.
point. It's a good point. I hadn't considered that. The fact.
Yeah, but
I could see that with the success Dan Quinn has had as defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. That's an option that I could see is right there if Mike McCarthy gets fired or let go halfway through the season.
I don't
If that's the
see,
case, but I don't think that
I
would
wouldn't.
happen.
I wouldn't see because I have the Dallas Cowboys going 12-5 again. I do. I think they're going to split their games with Philadelphia. I think they'll lose to Buffalo. I think they'll lose 2 other games after that. I think they might lose to the Jets just because it's Aaron Rodgers. Until we beat Aaron Rodgers, I'm always going to mark that down as a loss. And then I think they might lose to Miami as well. So I have us going 12-5. But I just think the biggest test for them is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, because Philly has been just reloading. They have all these guys, all these weapons, fresh off of a Super Bowl. Look, and with Dak Prescott, it's the same argument that I just made for Lamar. Dak Prescott's gotten his money. Dak Prescott got his extension like 3 years ago. Okay, but now you got to step up. You got to prove it. Why have we paid you this money? You got to take us to the promised land.
Mm-hmm.
You got to. It's time to step. It's time to step up.
You're the franchise quarterback.
You're the guy. And so the offense is really the biggest question in the sense. Like I still have confidence in them, but it's more like, okay, what does it look like? We haven't seen it yet, and we won't get our first look at that offense until Saturday when they play their preseason game. So I might check it out just to kind of see like what it looks like. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I mean, there's not really much to say about Dallas. It's been kind of a quiet offseason, honestly. They've made the right moves, and I'm excited to see where this season goes. I'm definitely more excited this offseason going into the season than I was last season. Where last season I was like, dude, I don't want to do this. I really don't. This season I'm like, all right, I'm excited. I want to see where this goes. I can't wait. Like I can't wait to see Dallas play again. So yeah,
love it. I think I agree with you. I think Dallas is going to have a great season. 12-5 seems doable. And you're exactly right. I mean, they got to stop with the one and done in the playoffs. They have to prove that they're not that team because that's going to be what people label them as once they get to the end of the regular season, and rightfully so. I mean, they haven't proven otherwise. So this is the year they got to do it. And I think if Dak stays healthy, I think they got a pretty good shot. I really do to get pretty far in the playoffs. I think the NFC, especially the NFC, is pretty open, pretty wide open for.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, who are the contenders in the NFC? It's just the Eagles and
the Eagles. Yeah.
I mean, I would honestly throw the Vikings in there. I think the Vikings are pretty decent. I would throw. Obviously the 49ers.
Yeah, I was going to say San Francisco.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah, but I think Dallas is clearly the best.
All the killer teams are in the AFC, so like we have a pretty easy path to get to there. It's just this team has to perform. Yeah, and they have to be able to perform in the biggest moments, which is something Dallas hasn't been able to do in the past 20 years.
Totally agree.
Well, as much as I rag on when the Cowboys lose, I mean,
nonstop, really.
Yeah, but still, I feel like this is the year Dallas makes a step, and in order to make that step, win enough games to get that first round bye. Because if you do that, I think Dallas is going. But
in a way, I also feel like that might be detrimental to Dallas. I think Dallas
having that week off.
Yeah, that week off. I always feel like the week off, unless you're Kansas City, unless you're like one of these, for a team like Dallas where they are pretty inconsistent coming out off a bye week. That's just been the case every year. I feel like for them, that shouldn't be the goal as the one. I think they just let's just get into the playoffs. Like, let's just have a good enough record to where we don't have to play one of these, like we don't have to play at San Francisco right in the first round. And we can like get maybe, the AFC South team. Because I have Philly still winning the division. I do. I think they're going to be the first repeat champion in a while. I don't have them winning by much. I have them like at 13-4, 12-5 too. But they win on like tiebreakers and stuff every time I run a simulation of the season. but yeah, for me, it's like, okay, let's get into, let's make the playoffs, and then let's make a fucking run at it. Oh, excuse my language. Let's make a run at it.
Yeah, like you said, I agree with that, but I feel like Dallas is going to have another good year. I think the weapons they have will be good, and just watch out for the defense too.
The defense
Michael Parsons,
Yeah.
another year of Michael Parsons.
they are. I haven't seen a defense quite like them. The fact that they're just hungry for the football.
Well, I'd say Philly's defense is the same way.
Yeah.
Philly's defense they're dogs. They're all dogs on that defense. Philly's defense is the one that I'm just like, dude, how? Like, I have faith that we'll beat them in Dallas, but when we go to Philly, I don't think we're beating them in Philly.
It's a tough environment to go into anyway.
Yeah.
Well, those defenses have a lot of energy, and big thanks to the official energy drink of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Don't sleep. Energy. Don't sleep. Be great. Check them out. Don't Sleep is a great brand. You can check them out on Amazon, amazon.com/shops/don't sleep. Use promo code Kirby123 for 10% off. Or you can go on to www.don'tsleepenergy.com. Use promo code Kirby for 10% off as well. They have great merch. They have great drinks. Thanks once again to Don't Sleep Energy. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get to Carlos's Kansas City preview right after this on the Kirby on Sports podcast.
Bedbugs. The only thing creepier than thinking about them is actually having them. Trust me, you don't want to have them. Locally owned and operated Barrett Pest and Termite Services can keep you from having bedbug nightmares and infestations. Call 540-340-3922 to schedule your free inspection and consultation. If bedbugs are already in your home, we'll get rid of them so you can rest easy. We also specialize in keeping homes and businesses free of other pests, including rodents and termites. That's Barrett Pest and Termite Services, 540-340-3922.
Welcoming you back, and it is now time for Carlos's preview. As we like to say, there's no set structure to this podcast, but the defending Super Bowl champion.
Perfect season.
Oh, hell no. and the home of the Chiefs. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. The defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs opened the season in about 4 weeks, exactly a month, against the Detroit Lions. Yeah. Look, I mean, what is there to say? Obviously, some changes in the Kansas City organization in terms of coaching. Eric Bieniemy, of course, went to your Commanders, and a move that I think he wanted to make because he was kind of tired of being under Andy Reid's shadow and being, kind of not given the credit that I think he deserves for running the offense. Just because Andy Reid does kind of call the plays, but Eric Bieniemy calls plays too. So I think. It'll be interesting to see what happens now that Matt Nagy's back in the position. Of course, Matt Nagy was Patrick Mahomes' original offensive coordinator before he went off No, he wasn't the original offensive. No. Matt Nagy left the year Patrick Mahomes got drafted. My bad. But he helped draft Patrick Mahomes. Of course, he gave him notoriously the answers to the test that they were going to give Patrick Mahomes the day of his interview. When it came to route concepts and stuff like that. Matt Nagy the night before sent Patrick Mahomes all the answers because he really wanted Patrick Mahomes. And then he left to go to Chicago and ended up taking Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah. Very sad.
Yeah. But anywho, I mean, look, it's another year. They still have, the number one ranked player in the NFL top 100, Patrick Mahomes. Of course, they also have Travis Kelce. They have, we'll see Kadarius Toney's, progression now that he's going to be fully integrated into this team instead of coming in halfway. And hopefully he can stay healthy. Of course, he recently got dinged up a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see how they take care of that. Obviously Isaiah, Pacheco and, Clyde Edwards-Helaire needs to have himself a good year because they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. So this is kind of a do or die year for him. He's got to prove something because they drafted him for what he was doing at LSU, and he hasn't really shown that in the NFL. Sky Moore, of course, getting his first touchdown in the NFL during the Super Bowl. We'll see how he progresses as a wide receiver. There's not. It's pretty much the same team is coming back. They didn't really make any big gigantic signings. I don't think they needed it. I think they're, again, when you have Patrick Mahomes, you can kind of make anything work, I guess. To an extent, we saw what happened during the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay, where he had no line, and that was brutal. But and defensively, obviously, it's about, hopefully they could get Chris Jones back in here soon. Of course, he's kind of holding out for his contract. I think he's still holding out for his contract. I don't think he's come back yet. But, yeah, it'll be great to get him back in here soon. And, developing some guys, obviously another year with this, with the secondary who, all pretty much all rookies, and they all won a Super Bowl their first year. So it'll be interesting to see what they do year 2,
Good point.
There's not a lot of weaknesses on this team, in my opinion.
There's a reason they've been there year after year. There's a reason.
I think they're truly a solid team. Sure, they don't have like that big superstar receiver aside from Travis Kelce, but wide receiver wise,
they got Patrick Mahomes, man. They don't.
Yeah,
they don't really need a stud receiver.
Obviously, they also have Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I totally forgot about him.
He's pretty decent. Yeah.
Yeah, he had his moments. They have him, and yeah, like I said, I mean, just not a lot of. I don't really see any issues with this team. It's more of, okay,
can they stay focused throughout the whole season? 17 games.
Yeah, I which they will. This is a very professional organization under Andy Reid. He's going to keep these guys focused. Patrick Mahomes is going to keep these guys in line. So is Travis Kelce.
They've been there and done that.
Been there, done that. All these guys have. All these guys have been there and done that. And obviously the biggest loss of the offseason was losing Juju Smith-Schuster, who really helped with the, in those tough yardage situations. Obviously he was a big receiver and he could take a lot of hits. He was basically another tight end kind of with the way he was built. Losing him, was, kind of sucked, but, I have faith in, this Kansas City team to figure out, how to replicate his yardage and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, there's just not a lot to really like complain about this team. I have them. I have, this Joe Burrow injury kind of changes everything. I haven't run a simulation since that to kind of see like where I would put this at, because also we don't know how long Joe Burrow is going to be out. I have it as a 3-way race, of course, between Kansas City, Buffalo, and Cincinnati to get the 1 seed. But with this Joe Burrow injury, depending on how severe it is, which obviously if they're still kind of being like, he's not really giving us a time frame and not really wanting to talk about it. My guess is it's got to be something bad that's going to keep him out at least for the start of the season. So I kind of have it as, I think Kansas City obviously takes the 1 seed then, because I think Buffalo, I don't know. I just don't have, I don't have that much faith in Josh Allen per se. Like, I think he's the 3rd best quarterback in the league. Actually, you could make the argument that he's the 4th, because you could, I don't know. I don't want to put Jalen Hurts up there yet. He had 1 good season. Let me see another one before I start.
If he can do it this year, though, he's up there.
Yeah. If he does it again this year, then I'll be like, yeah, because obviously his Super Bowl performance was incredible. It was one of the greatest Super Bowl performances I'd ever seen in a losing effort. But I need to see it more consistently in terms of season by season, So
hardest thing to do.
You can make the argument, but I'm not going to. I'm still going to put Josh Allen at 3, Joe Burrow 2, Patrick Mahomes 1. But yeah, I mean, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. I have them either going between 14-2 and 12-5.
I think that's accurate. I think this is a team that is very well at organizing, very great organization. And that's why I don't think we have a lot to talk about, because I think we know what the Chiefs are capable of and what they're going to go out and do. Obviously, I mean, anything can happen, but signs are pointing for another great season by the Kansas City Chiefs. And I mean, that just goes to show you what happens when you have a well-run organization that can get back to the Super Bowl year after every 2 years.
Well, at least
And-
get back to the champ, because they've been
Yeah.
to the championship game,
Correct.
I think
Yeah.
it was 4 years in a row now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Years. Yep.
But there's not much else to say besides a professional run organization. And I think the writing's on the wall that the Chiefs are going to continue their pathway of success.
Well, they have Patrick Mahomes. I mean, if that's really
It's
all
hard
you need to
beat.
say.
It's hard to beat.
It's really all you need to say. They have Patrick Mahomes. You guys nailed it. They're just a well-oiled machine. Anyone who comes into that organization, they know the expectation. They know what's in front of them, and they know, we're expected to, it's sort of like the Patriots with Brady. You're expected to compete for that Super Bowl every year. So, I mean, every team is hoping for that, but Kansas City literally has done
been
it.
doing it. Yeah, they've been doing it. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't see really any weaknesses across this roster at all. And I think they're once again the team to beat. I think I don't think you can put anybody above them. Buffalo to me hasn't proven it. Cincinnati's kind of had their number in.
Yeah, I mean, they've been the guys that have been beating them on a consistent basis. Obviously,
Cincinnati's
last year was
number.
the first time that Kansas City beat Cincinnati in the championship game,
Right.
and that was by the thinnest of margins too.
Yeah, it's a great
That's
game,
why
though.
Cincinnati is the team I'm most scared of when it comes to
Yep.
Kansas City,
I
because
agree.
they are, when you got receivers like Jamar Chase, and then you got T. Higgins, and then you got the number 2 guy, Joe Burrow, who's right behind Patrick Mahomes. I obviously think Patrick Mahomes is ahead of him, but it's not that wide of a gap. Like, it's like Joe Burrow's like right here. Like, there's still a gap, but he's there.
And if he wins the Super Bowl, he's there. I mean, I would put him pretty close.
You would have to put. I mean, look,
Fair.
they both lost the Super Bowl, but Patrick Mahomes has 2, and
True.
in both of those Super Bowls, he played relatively well.
Good point.
It was comeback wins in both of them, so like he had to come back in both games. Especially, and given what happened last year with his ankle and the fact that he was able to just play through that, like that was insane in itself.
Yeah.
I mean, the real question will be is how much does this division, the AFC West, improve? Because you got the Chargers, who always play the Chiefs tough.
Yep.
It always comes down to the wire with them.
He's gotten, and their quarterback's gotten paid too. So
and Justin Herbert is no slouch. He's on the come up. And this could be a year where now he's got Kellen Moore, who's gonna be able to do some stuff with him, I feel. And we'll see how that goes. Okay, so how do the Chargers change? How do the Broncos change with Sean Payton? Obviously Sean Payton completely burying Nathaniel Hackett and the way he ran that organization. Being like, this was unprofessional. We all saw it. How are you going to give Russell Wilson an office? Like, what are we doing?
Why is he doing high knees when people are trying to sleep down the aisle of the plane? Like, come on.
So we'll see where the Denver Broncos improve. They're going to improve with the Sean Payton. And the Raiders,
the Raiders.
They still got they still got Adams, as a big wide receiver. And
who's their starting quarterback though? Who?
Jimmy G, who had to get his contract restructured.
Yeah, and on top of that,
he didn't pass a physical until like a month ago, right?
Yeah, it was his foot or something. I don't know. It was something.
Yeah,
shoulder.
He's always injured.
The Raiders, I'm not really like worried about. Honestly, I'm really not. It's more of the Chargers is the team that I'm in division. The Chargers are the ones that I'm always like, these games are always dicey.
Yeah, and
we'll just see how the Broncos go. Like how do they shape out? I do have the Chiefs losing at least one division game. At least one. For the first time ever, I just have it happening. I just think they're going to lose one. I do.
I love that. For the first time ever, I'm picking Kansas City to lose one division game.
Well,
I love
for the first
that.
time under Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes doesn't lose division games. He owns
No.
this division. But
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the first time that he's going to lose. And it's going to happen. Like, there's just no way he's going to end his career never losing to an AFC West team. I think this is the year it happens. I really do.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I think obviously the Chargers are probably a team that beat you too.
I actually have it as the Broncos. I think the Broncos actually beat them. I think the Broncos beat them.
I think the Broncos can't get much worse.
No.
But I don't think they're gonna be
Russell Wilson.
Huh?
Where Russell Wilson is. Like, how does he look? Because he looked abysmal last season.
Yeah, he looked like he had a noodle arm. It was just bad.
Not to mention too that whole Broncos Jets beef. I'm like, that's unnecessary. Come on.
Hey, that game is going to be even bigger now.
Yeah,
that game is going to be bigger. Listen,
circle that game on the calendar.
Nathaniel Hackett was not the right man for that job.
He was not fit to be a head coach. I think we all said that when he was,
I don't remember.
It started that very first game in Seattle.
They just
yeah.
When
they lost.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was rough, but
yeah.
It's going to be an interesting season, guys.
I'm excited, dude. I'm so excited.
Hey, we could sit here all night, but we'd be boring the listeners, the viewers of this podcast. But gentlemen, I'm hype. I know you all are hype. The NFL season is right around the corner.
1 month, baby. We just got to make it 4 more Thursdays. Four more.
Hey, you know what that means? The Kirby on Sports podcast is back in business, ready to break down each and every week of the NFL football season. It's a great time of year, and I'm glad that we're back together experiencing this season and podcasting, doing something that we love all together. About one of the greatest sports, the most watched sports, the NFL.
It's going to be a fun season, boys.
Yeah,
I can't wait. Hope you guys have YouTube TV.
Yeah, I'm glad we're on the ride together. Yeah, YouTube.
Sunday ticket is so expensive.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what you get when DirecTV does not get the contract. You see the actual price.
Well,
yeah, I think over the years it'll go down. I think it's just one of those things where the first year Google has to get their money's worth. Sort of.
DirecTV, it's just like a case of like, look, people were cord cutting. Nobody, they were.
Yeah,
they lost subscribers like crazy.
It didn't make sense for the NFL to go back to with a cable company. Let's go. You don't need YouTube TV. You can just get it with your regular YouTube account, and you can just watch the games like that. It's just, man, it's like $500. I'm like, oh my god, it's a one-time fee, but like, I don't know if I want to pay that.
I don't even like spending $500 on a phone. But...
No, I don't like spending $500 on bills.
On anything.
No.
Yeah, but gentlemen, I'm glad we're in this ride together. That about wraps up
Kirby Country. Let's ride.
Is that the new catchphrase? Kirby Country. Let's ride.
Let's ride.
Oh,
you better clip that.
You are the Russell Wilson of this podcast.
I remember you saying that, but
he's doing high knees behind the camera here.
He's
episode 181.
Yeah, he was.
Episode 181 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. That will do it for us. Big thanks to all of our sponsors: PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Barrett Pest and Termite Services, Shenandoah Music, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, in the official energy drink of the Kirby on Sports podcast, Don't Sleep Energy. Make sure you find us www.kirbyonsports.com, along with all streaming platforms, all listening platforms. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube page. Gentlemen, it's been a blast. I can't wait for next time. Let's have some fun this season. Are we ready for next time? I can't wait.
Ride.
Yeah. Until next time, we say so long and peace out.